Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will be talking about the migration to Abyssinia. The migration to Medina came afterwards. The first migration that took place was that to Abyssinia. Now, the series of persecutions had started late in the fourth year of prophethood. We remember that in the first 3 years, it was the time of the secret call. And at the beginning of the fourth year, the open call had been made, and late in that year, the series of persecutions had started. They became intolerable by the middle of the fifth year, and Surah Kahf was revealed with parables for the believers. First of all, the story of the Ashab-e Kahf, the sleepers of the cave. These believers evacuated hot spots of disbelief where there was not just persecution against them but also a peril of enticement away from the religion of Haqq. So, on the one hand, you're being persecuted, and on the other hand, you're in the midst of a lifestyle that is anathema to the principles of Islam, to the principles of the religion of Haqq. And so, these were the twin reasons for migration to Abyssinia as well. Hence, the first parable for the believers of Makkah. The young men said to one another, "And when you withdraw from them and that which they worship, except Allah, then seek refuge in the cave. Your Lord will open a way for you from His mercy and will make easy for you your affair. That is, will give you what you need of provision dwelling." This is mentioned in Surah Kahf. Then comes the story of Khidr and Musa. Khidr is not mentioned specifically with this name in Surah Kahf, but he is generally understood to be called Khidr. The story says that the future is necessarily related, predictable from the present. It may well be the opposite, and the best of us may not know it. Now, we are given 3 examples in this story where the great Prophet Musa himself is not able to understand the actions of the person that he is traveling with. And so that means that if we are struggling today or we are in very dire straits, we can take hope from the fact that nothing is going to last forever, and what's going to happen tomorrow is not necessarily the direct result of what is happening to us today. So, this is a great source of positivity and hope for the Muslims in Makkah who are facing a very difficult time indeed. The story of Zulkarnain is the story of a righteous king who was granted great success on this earth as well. The lesson of that story is that Allah takes His righteous servants to inherit the earth and whatever is in it. Allah raises a righteous man every now and then to protect the weak against the strong. So, yes, we know that this world is not the perfect world. The perfect world is the one that is going to come in the hereafter. But there is hope over here that there are good people in this world as well. And Allah brings them and raises them and gives them enough power that they protect the weak against the strong. So this was Surah Kahf and the parables it held for the believers of Makkah. Now Surah Al-Zumar, chapter 39, the crowds, was revealed as well, pointing directly to migration, stating that the earth is spacious enough and believers must not consider themselves constrained by forces of tyranny and evil. Say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, O my slaves who believe in the oneness of Allah, Islamic monotheism, be afraid of your Lord Allah and keep your duty to Him. Good is the reward for those who do good in this world, and Allah's earth is spacious. So if you cannot worship Allah at a place, then go to another. Only those who are patient shall receive their reward in full, without reckoning. In the early discussion, we said that Abyssinia was a center of trade. They used to go there for trade in winters. Ashama, who was the current Negus of Abyssinia, was known as a just Christian ruler. He would allow no persecution in his land. The first batch of migrants included 12 men and 4 women. They were led by Usman bin Affan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and included his wife Ruqayyah radiyallahu ta'ala anha, who was the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They left at night on foot or on beasts, and they went to Shuaiba, which is a port south of Jeddah at the Red Sea, and they found 2 cargo ships to board. For those of you who share my interest in linking up historical places with modern places, I look for Shuaiba port, and it turns out that Shuaiba is now more of a tourist destination. It's not a main port anymore, and it says that it used to be a very important port before Jeddah became the foremost port, because if you go to Saudi Arabia now, you know that Jeddah is the main port on the Red Sea. This was Rajab of the 5th year of prophethood. The Quraysh found out and sent men after them but could not stop them. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said they are the first people to migrate in the cause of Allah after Ibrahim alayhi salam and Lut alayhi salam. This is an incident related to the recitation of Surah Najm. It was Ramadan of the 5th year of prophethood. A large number of Quraysh, including chieftains and nobles, were at the sanctuary. Suddenly, the Prophet ﷺ, without giving them any warning so that they could not close their ears to the Quran, he started reciting Surah Najm, and as the awe-inspiring words came unawares on them, before they could avoid listening, they were spellbound. Allah said about their trick to try to avoid listening to the Quran, "And those who disbelieve say, listen not to this Quran and make noise in the midst of its recitation so that you may overcome." When the Prophet ﷺ got to the end of the surah and said the last ayah that includes the sajda, he went into prostration and the Quraysh automatically did so too. The ayah is, "So fall you down in prostration to Allah and worship Him alone." For a moment truth had touched their obdurate souls, but they later repented and invented more lies to make up for prostrating along with the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The immigrants returned. Rumor had reached the immigrants in Abyssinia that the idolaters of Makkah have all accepted the truth. In year 5, the incident of Surah Najm had happened and all the Quraysh leaders had prostrated along with Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And in year 6 of prophethood, Hazrat Hamza and Hazrat Umar had accepted Islam within a few days of each other, and after they came to Islam, they would openly lead the Muslims towards the sanctuary, and the Muslims would openly be able to pray at the sanctuary, and these events happened in these 2 years. However, whatever the reason was for this rumor to reach the immigrants, it did reach them, and they decided to return. But when they got near Makkah, they discovered that things haven't changed. So some returned to Abyssinia and some remained in Makkah under the protection of certain non-Muslims. We talked about Usman bin Mazun, who had returned to Makkah, and initially he got the protection of Walid bin Mughira and later renounced it because he did not like that he is not being persecuted and his brothers in Islam are. Now for the second migration. We have already mentioned that the Quraysh were regretting having prostrated over Surah Najm, and therefore they increased the persecution even more. They increased the lies that they were making up about the Prophet ﷺ, all to make up for what they had done. They were also very upset about the good treatment that the Muslims were receiving in Abyssinia. A second group of 82 to 83 men and 18 to 19 women at this point left for Abyssinia, and this was the second migration to Abyssinia. Now you would not expect the Quraysh to sit calmly and patiently in Makkah and approve of the events that were taking place, the Muslims going and migrating to Abyssinia. And so they sent their shrewd envoys Amr bin al-As and Abdullah bin Rabi'a to get an audience with the king and give him presents from Arabia. This was before Amr bin al-As had accepted Islam, obviously. He was not the oldest of the Quraysh leaders, but he had been selected because of his diplomatic ability. He was very good with words, and if anything tricky needed to be negotiated, he would be selected for the purpose, and that is why he was chosen. So they went to the king, who was Ashama, the king of Abyssinia at that time, and they said, "O king, some foolish men from our city have taken refuge in your majesty's country. They have abandoned our religion, but rather than accepting yours, they have invented one of their own. Their families, knowing of their delusions, have sent us to your majesty to bring them back home." The bishops around the king wanted to grant the request, but the king wanted to listen to the Muslims. He wanted to listen to both sides of the story. Jafar bin Abi Talib was brother to Ali bin Abi Talib, cousin to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and it was said that he resembled the Prophet greatly. Jafar was the one who was chosen to respond to the king, and he said, "O king, we were a nation steeped in ignorance. We worshipped idols, ate carrion, and committed many abominations. We neglected our kin and mistreated our neighbors. The strong among us devoured the weak. We lived thus until Allah raised among us a messenger of whose noble lineage, truthfulness, honesty, and purity we were all aware. He invited us to acknowledge the oneness of God, to worship Allah, and to renounce the stones and idols our forefathers used to venerate. He enjoined upon us to speak the truth, to keep our word, and to be kind and considerate to our relatives and neighbors. He forbade us to shed blood, to act wantonly, to lie, and to deceive others. He forbade us to encroach upon the property of orphans or vilify chaste women. He commanded us to worship Allah alone without associating anything with Him. He ordered us to pray, to fast, and to pay the poor their due. We acknowledged He was Allah's messenger and believed in Him. We followed him in whatever he brought from Allah, and we worshipped only one God without associating anything with him. We treated as unlawful what he forbade and embraced what he made lawful for us. At this, our people were estranged. They persecuted us, tried to seduce us from our faith, and force us to return to idolatry, pressing us to return to the abominations we used to commit earlier. When they tortured us, ground us under their tyranny, and stood between us and our religion, we fled to your country, choosing you above others for refuge. We have come here, O King, to your country, seeking your protection. We hope that we shall not be dealt with unjustly. The king asked Jafar Raziallahu Ta'ala Anhu to recite something of the Quran, and Jafar Raziallahu Ta'ala Anhu recited the opening verses of Surah Maryam, which talk about Hazrat Zakaria and his wife who prayed for Allah to give them a child, and they had a child in their old age who was called Hazrat Yahya. And they talk about Hazrat Maryam and Hazrat Isa. The king wept till tears flowed through his beard, and the bishops too were overcome. Truly, he said, this and what Jesus brought are from the same divine light. To the Quraysh he said, you may go, by God I shall never give them to you, nor will they be ill-treated. Now Umar bin al-As was an intelligent diplomat, and he would not have given up his purpose over there so very easily. So he returned the next day and he said, O king, there is a dreadful thing about Jesus which is too shameful to be reported before you. The king summoned the Muslims again and he asked them about it. Jafar Raziallahu Ta'ala Anhu replied, we say about him that which our Prophet ﷺ has taught us. Jesus was a human being and Allah's prophet. He was a spirit and a word cast unto the blessed Virgin Maryam. The king took a straw from the ground and said, by God, Jesus the son of Mary does not exceed what you have said by the length of the straw. Go and live in my territory in peace and security. Those who ill-treat you will be punished. I shall not give you any trouble even if I were offered a mountain of gold in exchange. Now we know that Christianity has a concept that Hazrat Isa was a part of a holy trinity. However, Ashama was a true Christian and he did not believe in the Trinity, and this is what he said. He also returned the presents from the Quraysh. And so the mission of attempting to extradite the Muslims from Abyssinia failed completely. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.